Hello and welcome back to Mindful Nutrient. I'm your host, 𝐀𝐿𝐼𝐥𝐬𝐬, ready to take you on a deep dive into the fascinating world of nutrition and health. I don't even know how to start this one. It's been boiling and boiling, and it's going to be a deep and vulnerable one. I'll talk about how my meditation practice has changed my life and why I needed it in the first place. I describe what my meditation practice looks like, what it involves, and I will share my spiritual, mystical, transcendent experiences with you. I've been touching on these topics in a few of my previous episodes, for example, the two about mantras and humming, as well as the stress podcast. What I mean is, I've been sharing a bit of my journey starting from this spring when I deepened my meditation practice, and I want to share a bit more about this journey and how it has transformed me and what kind of changes it has made in my life. I've touched on this topic very vaguely. I've been only mentioning that during the past 2 decades I've been having a low grade, or maybe not so low grade, stress. Many of you must be wondering, what's the cause of all this? What I'm prepared to tell you at this moment is that I've been having some health issues. However, the details don't even matter. Whatever your challenges in life, health or otherwise, I truly think that you can learn from what I'm about to share and make changes for better in your life. So, for the past 20 years, I've been very health anxious. Some of these concerns are legitimate, while many are not. So, what does it look like in real life? I will give you an example. I think it was about 6 years ago when I truly believed that I had throat cancer. I started having those strangling-like feelings in my throat. Now I know that it was just about my anxiety, but back then, well, I really went into the rabbit hole and Googled everything, and I was 100% sure that I had throat cancer. But I wouldn't go to a doctor either because I didn't want them to confirm my diagnosis. I even made peace with myself. I made peace with dying. This is how far it went. We were living in Spain back then, and my kid was about 5 years old. I remember one instance when my husband was away in Estonia and I was alone with my kid. I was literally terrified to fall asleep at night because I thought I would suffocate during the night and my kid would wake up in the morning, find me, and be all alone in this horror. It was really debilitating and paralyzing. And the main thing is, it was all in my head. I was doing it to myself. But somehow I climbed out of this hole, and of course I didn't have any cancer. To be honest, I don't exactly even know or remember how I came through. I guess it was simply living my life day by day, and maybe more pleasant things happened in my life and I started to feel better in my body. I'm this kind of person. It's very easy for me to fall into an abyss, but then again, it's also easy to drag me out of it. So I'm living on these waves, up and down all the time. Now, I don't want to bore you with my own struggles that much. I'd rather like you to give some tools and show you how it is possible to overcome these traits of personality and land in a much happier and calmer place. I started to meditate regularly last July when I took the Silver Method course on Mind Valley. I really could feel something transforming in me. My fears succumbed and I felt much calmer and more confident. Then, if you've been my newsletter subscriber for at least a year, you know that last September my health issues began and I sank into depression-like state. All my fears came back and it was even hard to function. I had a panic attack-like situation last October when I needed to pack for my Spain trip. It was so hard. I simply couldn't do it. Everything seemed so overwhelming. I was trying to pack and tears just flowed out of my eyes. Somehow I managed to get my suitcase ready and get my ass onto the plane, but even the next few days after landing, I was very fragile. And I remember that cooking a dinner for my own family and our hosts seemed so terrifying. I think I didn't open my computer for at least 5 days. The interesting thing is that when you need the meditation practice the most, it's very hard to go into it. So I skipped a lot of days and sank even deeper. Over these next few months, I gradually developed gastritis due to the high stress levels and constant anxiousness. On top of everything, in January, I had my fibroid removal surgery, and the recovery was quite difficult. I'd say by the beginning of April, my health state was really in the trash. I ended up in hospital where all kinds of fun stuff happened. I won't go into the depths just right now. What I want to tell you is which steps I took and what practices I incorporated in my life to start climbing out of this hole. But before I do that, I think it's fair to give you a perspective of what this hole or abyss really looked like from the inside, what I was going through. Basically, all my awake time, I had this constant fear and anxiety. I remember waking up in the morning and feeling relaxed for a few moments before everything kicked in. I remembered who I was, where I was, that I was supposed to be anxious, and indeed I got anxious immediately, and as a result my heart rate would go up instantly and my gut started to tear. The tearing in the gut, I think, was the worst thing I've ever felt on a long-term basis. I could feel it in my stomach, in my esophagus, and in my throat. On top of that, I'd get a bit of strangling-like feeling as well. It was agonizing, really. I wouldn't wish it for anyone. My resting heart rate was around 90 to 100 at some point, so I was sitting still, quietly, and my heart was just pounding. It's a snowball, really. My heart was pounding because I was so anxious, and then I got even more anxious because I was worried about how much my cardiovascular system can endure before it fails. So keeping myself busy was the only thing that helped a bit, because every time I sat down and didn't do anything, everything kicked in again. I don't know why, but I think that quite many people can resonate with that. And it's in moments like this when you do need to sit down and be quietly and feel those feelings and tell yourself that you are not in any immediate danger, you're safe, you're good, everything is well, the universe has your back. But it's very hard to do that when you are in this state. I saw a functional doctor in the beginning of April, and she urged me to go and do therapy. So I did. And during my 3-hour session, I was able to almost release some of the issues that had been hurting my body since childhood. It had to do with forgiveness. Let me tell you guys, forgiveness is everything. I was finally able to forgive my father. If someone had told me just a month before that I had to forgive him, I would have gotten very angry. Even the concept would have been incomprehensible and impossible for me. Now I can tell you how liberating it is. The thing is, when you're angry at someone, thinking that it's a good way to get back at them, you are at really wrong tracks, because when you are angry at someone, you only hurt yourself. You don't hurt them at all. It all lands back on you. And it's not only your mind that is troubled. You actually hurt your physical body and make yourself sick. So how do you know that you really have forgiven someone? Well, I had my forgiveness process on my own, and I didn't see my father for a few good months after, but when I finally did, it really sunk in. When I saw him, there was no anger, no bad feelings whatsoever. I gave him a hug and I really meant it. It was as if this really heavy weight had been lifted off me. One tool that helped me tremendously was the 6-phase meditation. One part of it is forgiveness. If you're able to give a mental hug to the person you're forgiving, it's a sign that this particular case has been resolved and you can move on to the next one. I simply was able to have this trial in real life as well. With some people, it might not be the case. They might not be alive anymore, or they might be very far away from you. In this case, the mental hug is the next best thing. So I went through all the therapy, meditation and healing, but I still felt stuck. I had seen Michael Pollan's 4-part series, How to Change Your Mind, about psychedelics. It's a must-watch really. It's on Netflix, so feel free to dive deep. I had already been thinking about using nature's help for years, since information about psilocybin research has emerged and documentaries have been filmed. And finally, I was presented with the opportunity and I went through the experience in May. I describe it in detail on my Patreon podcast episode. It's still there. If you're interested, go and have a listen. I think it helped me tremendously. It helped me really realize that everything is inside me. Every answer is inside me. I'm the one who can help myself. However, a week after the session, I still felt stuck, as if I was standing still with no further progress. Then I stumbled upon Kundalini meditation, which includes movement, breath, and mantras. I had never known about a meditation like this before. This hit every spot for me. It's a known fact that humming activates your vagus nerve, which in turn activates your parasympathetic rest and digest nervous system. You can go back to my episodes about humming and mantras to go deeper. The vibration that humming creates helps me personally tune into myself and find my space. By the way, Kundalini practice can be very challenging when it involves certain postures and powerful breath work. Your body will protest and it's uncomfortable at first, but don't give up as you'll love the buzz that follows. Moreover, that kind of practice helps you get deeper faster. I think it's especially helpful for beginners. If you follow me on Instagram, then you might know this side of me because every now and then I share my practice on my stories. But where do you start? You can check out Evolve by Erica for inspiration. She has a great meditation app allowing you to use it for free for 7 days to see whether it really is a fit for you. When you start the trial, definitely do the 7 beginners meditations before you move on to more challenging ones. There are some that when you do them for the first time, you might think that how the heck are people doing this? But over time, you grow into it and you start enjoying it. It gets easier and easier, but also more powerful and more impactful. And the crazy thing is, my husband laughs about this, that during those meditations, I've really developed a strong upper body, and that's just meditation. The thing is that Kundalini meditation includes kriyas, kind of yoga poses combined with breath work, and this is what makes your core and your upper body stronger so that you can be more aligned and rooted in your physical body. You actually feel stronger and more confident. Moving on, I had practiced this type of meditation for a couple of weeks when Erica made a podcast about her experience attending a week-long Dr. Joe Dispenza retreat. Wow. What I heard only solidified my not so newly formed but kind of background beliefs about the universal energy. I immediately googled Dr. Dispenza and discovered his Rewired series on Gaia.com. I already had Gaia subscription since I was in the hospital in April, but somehow hadn't discovered that one before. Now, watching Rewired has drastically changed my understanding of meditation and how to best use it to create a new reality. I wholeheartedly recommend watching it. This series is truly life-changing, explaining the science behind meditation, what's known at least, because this is only a tip of the iceberg, and how people literally are able to change their gene expression, lengthen telomeres, and cure incurable illnesses. In her podcast, Erica describes some of the incredible experiences she and her friend had on the retreat. You need to hear it to believe it. Dr. Joe Dispenza prioritizes a meditation he calls the blessing of the energy centers, aka chakras. It is a way we can tune into our own energy by creating coherence in each of the chakras to improve our well-being. He explains that these points in the body are much more than chakras. There are certain glands of the endocrine system located at each of these points, and each one has its own brain. Doing this gives you a means of tuning into your energy centers, creating coherence, and sending chakra healing throughout the whole body. By the way, Erica has a chakra challenge on her platform, which I highly recommend. I did it as she released it in July and just started with root again this week. Just felt the need to. So why is meditation so powerful? Through a guided or non-guided meditation, you'll be able to activate your autonomic nervous system, slow down your brain waves, and rewire yourself. Basically, wake up to a new you. Back in May, I did an almost 55-minute meditation by Dispenza himself. And this was something I had never experienced before. But somehow, it doesn't have the same effect on me anymore. I feel the Kundalini practice is more of my thing. However, when I did it the first time, I went so deep. I almost cried and made all sorts of noises. The way he does this is so effective. He creates a truly mystical experience, as if you were in a monastery with monks chanting. And I was so grateful to do this practice. Now, in addition to all the meditations, I've been reading up on the chakras and what ailments the blockages of each of them can cause, and I must admit I resonated well with many of them. So how do I actually incorporate those meditations into my daily routine? When I was in my deepest hole after being released from the hospital in the end of April, I really meditated my ass off. I think at some point I even spent around 3 hours a day meditating. I had this opportunity because I work from home and my husband was away on business trips a lot and my kid was at grandparents. So I really took advantage of this time and it was so necessary to move forward. However, by now the practice has turned into something more reachable also from other people's perspective. So the way I do it, my morning practice is non-negotiable. I always do it whenever I wake up. I prefer to do it super early. Well, not super for some people, but I like to wake up around 6:30 a.m. and do the practice while everyone else is still asleep. A side note, when I spent 2 to 3 hours a day meditating, something really incredible happened. I started waking up around 4-5 a.m. in the morning and I didn't feel tired at all. The sleep was enough for me. And then gradually, unnoticeably, I moved back into my usual routine. So normally I do a 20 to 25 minute practice from Erica's app first thing, and then I add some kind of mantra or meditation to it. Lately I've been doing long 𝐀𝐟𝐼𝐥𝐢𝐚𝐭𝐞, which is a morning call mantra. And after that I continue with Tibetan hormonal gymnastics. I have a YouTube video about it where I explain everything and show you how to do it. I've been practicing it for the past 10 years, I think. So altogether, my morning practice takes about 15 minutes, but I wouldn't feel complete without it. And I'm not saying it has to be 15 minutes. Even 10-15 minutes will make a tremendous change for better. Start with even just a 5. So where am I at the moment? Which benefits have I reaped from my new practices and experiences? I think I now see the bigger picture more clearly. I dare to trust the ways of the universe. I dare to trust that universe has my back. Even negative experiences, failures or challenges are here to teach me something and to guide me to the path I'm meant to walk. I have truly learned to be grateful for my back then thought as negative experiences, because everything that I've gone through during my 44, almost 45 years has brought me to this place and to this human I am right now. Most certainly I have not arrived. No one has arrived. We have different stages of timelines of experiences and evolvement. I've learned to respect other people's paths more. I'm not saying that I'm completely free of judgment. I'm not. I'm still working on this. But I can now see how me, myself, have walked so many different paths, evolving with every step. And I don't regret anything that I've done. And I don't feel ashamed for anything that I've done, even though I did so in the past. I now see that everything has a purpose. Every act, every experience was there to teach me or teach someone else. I can clearly see this now. As I said, it's still work in progress, but I like to be on this journey. And I'm especially grateful that I'm on this journey with my most incredible partner, with whom we've grown even closer together during this hard but so necessary past year. We have grown individually and we have grown together so much, and we are thrilled to be on this journey together. As much as I'd like to keep praising our relationship, I don't think that's interesting for you, so let's move on with another fascinating topic. And that's all the mystical, spiritual, and transcendent experiences, however you want to call them, I've had since May this year. In 7 occasions, I've had lucid dreams. Well, I'm not completely sure whether I can call them lucid dreams, because lucid dreams happen when you are supposedly asleep, but I wasn't asleep. In 6 occasions, I was about to fall asleep and very aware that I actually wasn't asleep, but yet awake. And on 1 occasion, it happened during yoga nidra in the morning. I had those very vivid, extraordinary, bright, movies, videos in front of my eyes. When you're dreaming, it's different, but this was as if I was in fact watching TV. The images were oh so clear and lucid, but the colors were completely out of this world. They were exceptionally bright, like photoshopped. You don't see these kinds of colors in 3D world. In one instance, I even did live streaming to my husband describing what I was seeing. This was crazy. And on these 7 occasions, these were not some kind of patterns, but real images. For example, fragments of a room, a town square with people walking by, or a bright meadow with a couple sitting there. Once it was the craziest cartoon with mad graphics. This was the one I was live streaming. And on top of that, in a couple of occasions, I've seen patterns as well. Also fully awake, eyes closed, of course. Once it was outstandingly beautiful, colorful leaf patterns. The leaves were green and they were moving around, forming all kinds of breathtaking patterns. That was amazing. Furthermore, during meditation, I've seen a clear image of a volcano crater from which a mountain emerged. On other occasions, I've seen random patterns, really beautiful violet circles moving around, and something that looks like an energy wave. I can't really describe it, but it felt like an energy wave. I'm not sure what all this means, but I'm not supposed to understand everything. I simply receive and I'm grateful. Then I had a dream about my higher mind speaking to me. It was very real, as if I was watching it on a screen with subtitles. She told me many things, but I was trying hard to remember one certain piece, so I kept repeating it not to forget it and kind of forgot the rest. She told me that I need to consume nettle and lovage, in Estonian also known as winter celery. I already knew that nettle is good for stabilizing histamine release, and indeed I sometimes have problems with it, meaning I have redness in my face after a meal. As soon as I woke up, I googled lovage, and it turns out it's very good for stomach issues, and I've been having those for the past 8-9 months. I don't know, I find it really fascinating, and I felt deeply connected to this dream. What's more, I told one of my friends about it, and she just happened to have some lovage in her garden in the countryside. And just today she brought me a plant, and now I have it on my balcony. And my mom picked me some nettle from her garden, dried it for me, and now every morning I take this dried nettle and I pound it into a powder, and like a little witch I'm consuming it. Love it. And I'd say my craziest and most profound experience is from a few days ago when I did Erica's 7-minute alkalizing meditation, after which I was called to continue with chanting. And after that was finished, I strongly felt the urge to start chanting 𝐥𝐢𝐧𝐤𝐬, so I did. I added a slight body swing to it. I went on and on until I felt I was really going into it. The swing became automatic. It felt as if it was not me that was moving my body, but some kind of energy. At some point, I started feeling stronger pulls to the right side. That is, when I swayed to the right, it was more like a sudden jolt, as if someone was pulling me. Then, against my will, the melody of the second part of the chant changed. I sometimes sing it with another melody, but it was as if someone else was singing it for me because I wasn't able to change it back. I tried, but didn't succeed. Usually it goes like 𝐸𝐴𝐺𝐸, 𝐸𝐴𝐺𝐸, but then it changed to 𝐸𝐴𝐺𝐸, 𝐸𝐴𝐺𝐸. And for a couple of times I really tried to change it back, but I wasn't able to, so I just kept on going. And soon after, my body movements became livelier. The jolts to the right were stronger, and my shoulders started to sway up and down as well as my head moved in opposite direction. The emphasis of the words changed according to the movements. I was almost laughing and chanting, so into this energy, and definitely didn't want to stop. But suddenly, the energy started to change. The pulse felt a bit scary, as if there was someone on my right side. I didn't want to be scared. On the contrary, I wanted to embrace the experience and lean into it to see what's to come. Still, it was all a bit spine-tingling, and I became too conscious about my surroundings. I also knew that having too many expectations will mess with the flow. You can't really force it. You just have to receive what's coming to you. So I thought to myself that it was already a mighty experience and let myself come back. I ended the chant reluctantly but decisively. I didn't check the time when I began my meditation, but the chant must have lasted for about 30 minutes or a bit less. By the way, I need to clear up something about mantras. During my past episodes where I introduced you to two mantras, Om Namo Gurudev Namo and Sare Sasa, I described in detail what the meaning of the mantras is. To be honest, I felt a bit reluctant to do so, but I figured people would be very interested in the meaning of them. It's since been confirmed that the meaning of the mantras doesn't matter. The sound and the touch of your tongue on your upper palate is more important, and this is what will make a difference. It's the sound that touches you. The meaning has been given by people, and it doesn't matter. In fact, thinking about the meaning while you chant the mantra might even distract you and prevent you from arriving where you're supposed to arrive. Sadhguru has a great video about it. I will try to find it and put the link into the description so that you can go and watch it yourself. Why am I telling you all this? Because I simply want to share. Even if just one person finds it helpful, it makes me happy and is worthwhile. There is magic around us. We simply need to tap into it. Everyone is capable of it. And it's not only the purpose of magic why I do what I do. It helps me tremendously to manage this 3D experience. It has made me calmer, more accepting, more trusting. I feel like I'm a better human being. I've let go of my past regrets, and I'm grateful for every experience that I've had in my life, as they have made me who I am today. As I said, I'm far from being ready, but it's a process, and I enjoy the rest of my journey. And I'm happy to be on this earth with my dear people around me that make my experience complete. It's enormously important to have your own tribe, the people who you can utterly trust and who can rely on you 100%. And it's essential to nourish these relationships, as it won't happen by itself. Okay, I think I've rambled enough, and it's time to tie things up. I don't know, I felt I needed to do this podcast and get all of this out of my system. I have absolutely no idea if you like to hear it or not, so I'd really appreciate if you gave me some feedback in the comments wherever possible, or simply send me a DM on Instagram. I'm definitely going to have an emotional hangover after releasing this podcast, but I needed to do it. Ending with one of my favorite affirmations from Erica's meditations lately. You are light, you are bright, you are beautiful, you are strong, you are kind, 𝐿𝐴 Guru.